This video is the record of my second attempt to make it to 70 miles on relatively flat ground. I was not successful. I only got as far as 63 miles, but the lessons learned on this ride are worth looking at. What you see here is a small group of people. These are close friends I've been riding with for a while now. The one on the right is Brompton Family Time. I'm giving you a link below to his channel. He has a very valuable channel on the Brompton bike specifically, and if you're in the New York area, you are more than welcome to join a ride. Click below, either on the shopping page or at the bottom. I have a link specifically to the Facebook group we have, so feel free to get in touch if you're interested in a ride, but this video is going to be mostly about the technical aspects of it. This was an absolutely beautiful ride. We chose probably what was the last truly warm day of 2023, and we started from Forest Hills, which is in Queens, New York, and the ride was 30 miles. I had to ride into Forest Hills from Midtown Manhattan, from Grand Central, and that was about another 10 miles. So you're looking at 40 miles here, and we went around this beautiful place, especially when you get out here to the Far Rockaways, riding on the beach and back over some overpasses and bridges next to the JFK Airport. Really nice. Now when we were done at 40 miles, I tried to go back up to Westchester. So going back, we are talking about this station, Riverdale, and that would have been, it says a total of 50 miles plus 10 in the beginning. That's 60. So this is roughly accurate, but the way I rode was a bit different. I went out and something like this. You can see that the miles are piling up. It was something like this. I was out here, so 51, 52 plus the 10 miles I rode in. It was a total of 63 miles, and I'll show you the videos I took for this ride. But before I do, I should mention that the one ride I covered last time, where I made it to 65 on a single charge and still had some energy in the battery, that was an easier ride because the first part of it was coming down this way, and that is all downhill. So this is how much of a difference that made to take that downhill. This is a more accurate data of how much you can do with a battery that is rated at 14.5 ampere hours. So that's what I have. The battery is 6 years old at this point, and I think reasonably we can say that it can definitely do 60 solid miles on a single charge if you don't go too fast. Even if the ground is largely flat or somewhat hilly, it's not a downhill. It's not a downhill situation. And here is the video evidence of the actual ride. This was after I reached Forest Hills, which is a pretty charming upscale neighborhood in Queens. And this is my magnificent Brompton Interceptor next to a nice church in the middle of Forest Hills. The inner part of this neighborhood is really fancy, and this is like the outskirts of it, or the business section, which is kind of upper middle class but not super wealthy. They have this one tower, I think it's called the Kennedy Building, that doesn't look like much from the outside, but the inside is really valuable. Brompton Family Time arrived first, at least after me, and here you can see our bikes. The one on the left is my electrified Brompton. The one on the right is his $10,000 titanium Brompton with all the upgrades imaginable. And here are the three of us, in front of a restaurant just about ready to go. Nice restaurant too, but we did not eat here. We went around the water, and this was before we went out to the Rockaways. We had excellent weather, and you have bike lanes all around the water, almost non-stop. We were on bike lanes, so you don't really need to ride on the roads much. There were a few road segments, but even those had a separate lane on the road. And this is the water. I guess you would call it Long Island Sound, as we are on the way to the Rockaways. It was a spectacular day. Even if you wanted to swim, there were people swimming, and there were windsurfers, people on boats. The last truly warm weekend of the year, because next weekend is going to be a whole lot colder, but not really a harshly cold season. So all I'm expecting to do is just to put on maybe a sweater and long trousers. This is out on the Rockaways. These bugs were all over the place. These are harmless and pretty attractive bugs. I think they are called lent fly. And we are toward the western side of the Rockaway. If I had to go back, I would definitely prefer to go west, because it was much less crowded, very nice and pristine. There were people on the beach, but not that many, so there was so much space, and you had plenty of seats if you wanted to sit down, order food or drinks. Once we proceeded further to the east, it got a lot more crowded, and there were huge crowds, and almost all of the establishments were packed with people. We ultimately ended up crossing back onto the mainland. Or was that before? No, this was before we crossed back, and we stayed at a Thai restaurant. Yeah, here is where you can see the bridge crossing back into the mainland. This is still the Rockaways. There was hardly anybody in the restaurant, but even if it was crowded, you can see on the bikes that we could easily fold them in and pack them up right next to the table. So this is the one advantage of owning a Brompton. You could do this with a birdie. Maybe it would take a little bit more space, and you could do it with the Molten as well. It would take more time to separate it, but you could do it. And this is the overpass going back to Long Island proper, and you could see the skyline of New York from far away. This is the inside of Forest Hills, the richest part of it, and this was the end of the ride. Everybody went home from here, and this was, for me, really just the start of the second half of the ride. And I was even toying with the idea of making it as far north as Tarrytown, but unfortunately that was not to happen. This is me on Queens Boulevard. It's a busy road, but you do get a separate bike lane, which is reasonably safe. It's only the intersections that you need to worry about. I'm back in Manhattan. This is the Manhattan side of the 59th Street Bridge, and a bit of a skyline shot of the ever narrowing high-rise buildings that they are building in Manhattan. And I'm on the Upper West Side. This is possibly the oldest health food store in Manhattan. They opened in the 70s. And I loaded up on more food because I was getting exhausted, and some drinks. And this is the end of the ride, with absolutely no energy left in the battery after 63 miles. And I'll show you the computer, but the battery just went out really just a few hundred feet from the station. I had the feeling that it was going to go out, so I decided not to take a chance and try to go further up. There was absolutely no way I could have reached Tarrytown. There was no way. And because it was such a dry day, the bicycle remained dry even without the mud guards. So even though I detailed it after each ride, it was not a big deal. It was a beautiful ride, but I was so exhausted, and as you can see, it was after nightfall. I think it was around 6:30 or 7 o'clock by the time I ended up with the empty battery. And finally, I would like to take a look at what the official Brompton electric bike can offer. My bike is a model I tuned and electrified. This is the one Brompton sells for about $4,000. They don't tell you about anything about the battery capacity. They just say that it will go 45-mile range. I have my doubts about that. According to the AI on Google, the amperage is 8.5 ampere hour, so not much more than half of what I have. It is true that it's speed locked at 15 miles an hour, so it cannot go as fast as mine can go, and because of that, maybe you are saving a bit of energy. They say 25 to 50 miles. 50 miles is very generous. I would say even 44 would be very generous. And overall, I don't see the conventional Brompton electric as a match, but I will have a separate video coming to take a deeper look at what the electric Brompton can do from the factory. This is it for the current video. Check out the links below. Check out Brompton Family Times channel, and feel free to join the next ride.